One of the things I've noticed about myself is that while I like learning, I don't like reading. And it used to be a thing of concern because, a lot of times people ask you, how many books you've read this year. I think I was on Twitter earlier this morning. I saw it was a tweet I'd seen earlier about someone who said they read 130 books in the year, and someone was quoting it and saying how that is a really good thing to do. And a lot of times it makes me feel, do I say guilty, as though I'm not serious with my life. Like, why are you not reading? you know Readers are leaders. And there's all of this cool stuff that is being said everywhere, and then it's like what do I do? I mean, I cannot, I struggle to just pick up a book and then, go read, as much as I would like to, especially in this current phase of my life. I think I've had times where I read, books. You could maybe even say a lot of them. There were times where I was more keen on reading, but at least for the phase where I am now, reading has not been very easy. And a lot of times it's something that I've been feeling guilty about. But, you know, when you really look at this thing, you know, I think I've gotten to that point where I don't have that FOMO any longer. I no longer think I'm missing out by not reading as much books as people read, because first of all, what are we trying to do here? You know, learning is what we want to do. So if we are trying to do learning, can we maybe go back and look at it as from a first principles, point of view? You know, Learning is the goal. Are there other ways to achieve that goal? And I would dare say yes, I would dare say yes, because there are podcasts, there are audiobooks. So picking up a physical book, as it were, is not the only way to, ingest information. It's not the only way to learn. And, thinking about it this way has really helped me, feel less guilty about, not reading, as it were. Because when I look at this year, you know, I haven't really read I haven't read the number of books that I would say I'm proud to share. You know, of course, I've read a few, really few, probably like single digits, maybe not up to five this year. Like not up to five, it's not maybe. I'm sure it's not up to five. You know, but then in all of that, I find that I've learned a lot in the year. And how did I learn? I learned a lot by watching YouTube videos. I learned by listening to podcasts. And of course, one could always make the case that, YouTube videos are not in depth and do not really, give you the value you get from reading a book. And it totally makes sense. But let's be honest, do we recall everything from a book we read? We don't. So I think you just have to optimize for what works for you. If I struggle to read a book, but then I find it enjoyable to maybe listen to an audiobook or to watch a YouTube video on a topic, why do I have to go through the burden of picking up a book when I do not want to read it? And now, I don't know the science behind this, but I can imagine that if I hate reading, if I don't want to read a book and I pick it up, I think my retention would be even lesser than the normal retention I would have gotten from it. So it seems like it would be a more profitable idea, a more productive thing to do, at least in the interim, to just listen to an audiobook, listen to a podcast, listen to maybe an interview where the author, because, a lot of times when authors drop books, they usually have these interviews, they usually go for, maybe TEDx speeches or general public speaking gigs where they talk about the content of the book. And in all honesty, for most books, you can get the general gist from those stuff. So, I mean, if you do that and you enjoy it, I don't think it's out of place to say you're getting a ton of value, as opposed to, either putting it off completely because you're not able to sit down to read the book, or forcing yourself to read that book. So if you're someone like me who doesn't enjoy reading books, and maybe when you listen to podcasts, you feel like you're missing out, at this point, I think there's really no point doing that again. Do what works for you. Remember what we're trying to do here. We're trying to learn. We're not trying to read. Reading is not the only way we learn. So do what works for you. And something else that I found is, even for some of the books that I read, one of the things I've noticed about how I read books is that it's difficult for me to just pick up a random book. The book has to come highly recommended. And how does the book come highly recommended? It has to either be maybe a book, maybe I've watched a couple of videos about the book, and then it's like there are interesting ideas in this book. I want to see what the entire book is about. Or maybe I'm watching a video and then someone references a book. It's already piqued my interest, right? Now I want to read that book. And I now an example is a book called Obvious Adams. I think I've been listening to Rory Sutherland a lot, and he mentioned that book. And I went to it, I got the book and I read it. I read that book twice. It's a small book, by the way. But then it's like, it's not that I don't read really, but the I need to know what's in a way, I need to know why the book is worth my time before I read it. So, like I said, I do read. So this is a book, Dating Intelligently. It's by our globally pastor's wife, Pastor Laju Iren. And there are a couple of other books that I read because I believe either I know the person who wrote it is someone who offers a lot of value. I've also read some of past, Apostle Iren's books this year. And, so the idea is not that I don't read, but it seems to me to be that there's a threshold. I don't just, I don't read random books. I need to be, I need to know it's worth my time, because reading a book takes time. But you see, for a podcast, I can maybe take a podcast and I can do that while I'm doing something else. So you know, it allows me to explore topics, to audit topics without making a deep commitment. So maybe this, I find this is an interesting idea, I can listen to a podcast on it, and then if I find that okay, there's more things here that I would like to investigate, I can go get the book, and then because I've already gotten the general idea, I'm more likely going to read the book. But just finding a book, not knowing anything about it, and then reading it, especially for the phase of life that I'm in right now, that has not been the way I do things. So the whole gist of this video is that, remember, learning is what we're trying to do. So if you do that better by reading books, good. I mean, that's beautiful. But if you someone who find that maybe listening to podcasts, maybe even listening to audiobooks, or watching YouTube videos on topics, is better for you, then by all means do it. So that's it. Thank you for watching this video.